SG will be in London, so for a virtual visit. During his remarks on Sunday at the We the People's event, he will highlight the achievements of the UN's 75-year history. It will also call for a renewed global partnership to address the many challenges that we currently face. On Monday, the visit will focus on climate change. As you know, the United Kingdom is hosting the next climate change conference, COP26, now scheduled to take place in November in Glasgow, in Scotland. The Secretary-General will deliver remarks at the COP26 virtual roundtable on clean power transition. The event is designed to showcase and generate more commitments and action to accelerate the transition to renewable, affordable, and resilient power systems in Africa and the European countries, as well as the importance of a just transition to ensure green job economies. He will be joined by the UK's Foreign Secretary, Dominic Raab, and COP26 incoming President Alok Sharma, as well as representatives from several countries. During the virtual visit, the Secretary-General will also have bilateral meetings with Prime Minister Boris Johnson, Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab, Lord Ahmad of Wimbledon, the Minister of State at the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, as well as COP26 Alok Sharma. In addition to these meetings, the Secretary-General will have a conversation with the Archbishop of Canterbury, the Most Reverend Justin Welby, who is, as you know, also a member of the Secretary-General's High-Level Advisory Board on Mediation. All of the public events will be watchable on the UN Web TV webcast page, as well as, I imagine, a number of UK platforms. In relation to that, tomorrow we will be joined by Fabrizio Hochschild, the Special Advisor of the Secretary-General for the preparations for the UN 75. He will brief you in this room on the commemoration events scheduled on Sunday, as well as on the UN 75 final report. And we will try to share that with you either later today or early tomorrow, so you have a chance to look at it before the briefing. Edie, I think you were asking me yesterday about Martin Griffiths. He just concluded today a visit to Aden, which included meetings with a Yemeni Prime Minister, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and members of the cabinet, as well as the governor of Aden. During his meetings with the Prime Minister Abdul Malik, Mr. Griffiths once again stressed his strong condemnation of the heinous attack on the cabinet ministers when they arrived at the Aden airport. As you will recall, that attack killed 25 civilians. He also said the attack was devastating, not only due to the tragically heavy civilian toll, but also because it has political implications that could stir deep distrust. Mr. Griffiths congratulated the Prime Minister on the formation of the cabinet and its arrival in Aden, and commended the resolve of the government in the aftermath of this attack. He further expressed hope that the arrival of the ministers will mark the beginning of recovery after a perilous year. A quick update from the Central African Republic, where the peacekeeping mission has increased its patrols in Bosanga and Ouaham Prefecture after two anti-Balaka factions clashed yesterday over the issue of tax collection. UN peacekeepers are continuing their work to protect civilians, and we're maintaining a robust posture that includes daily patrols to secure the Bangui-Beleko axis, and the mission's military troops and police are also working in close coordination with national defense and security forces to secure the capital, including through joint patrols. And a quick update on Ethiopia from our humanitarian colleagues on the findings of the two joint government UN interagencies needs assessment missions that deployed in Tigray late last year, December 20th. According to the Southern Tigray mission, life in Alamata, Mehoni, and Mekele is gradually returning to normal with the resumption of some basic services, including electricity and telecommunications. Most of the displaced people have returned or in the process of returning to their homes in those areas. However, most of their belongings have been looted or destroyed. Regional authorities estimate that at least 90,000 people have been displaced due to the conflict. According to both missions, food supplies are very limited, and only locally produced food items are available at increasing prices. Infrastructure also needs to be urgently restored, as many buildings, including schools, hospitals, and administrative offices, have been looted or damaged. Our colleagues continue to engage with the government for the unrestricted, safe passage of humanitarian personnel and supplies to all part of the Tigray province. Turning to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, you saw that in a statement we issued last night, the Secretary-General said he was shocked by the massacre of civilians during recent attacks attributed to the ADF in the villages of Tigray, Mwenda, and Nzenga near the Beni territory, in the province of North Kivu. He strongly condemns such violence against the civilian population and calls for the perpetrators of these atrocities to be swiftly brought to justice. He offers his condolences to the families and the victims and to the government of the Democratic Republic of Congo. The Secretary-General reiterates his call for a global ceasefire and calls on all armed groups to lay down their weapons. He encourages the authorities of the DRC to take concrete steps to address the drivers of conflict in the eastern part of the country. And lastly, our regular food price index update from the FAO. And our friends in Rome today said that the world food prices rose for the 7th consecutive month in December. The FAO food price index averaged 107.5 points last month. That's 2.2% higher than in November. The increase was led by high demand in dairy products and concerns that drier and warmer conditions would impact milk productions in Oceania. Concerns about short supplies of palm oil as well as prolonged strikes in Argentina also led to an increase in the vegetable oil price index. More information available on the FAO website. And I now turn to you. Celia.
Stéphane, Leila Zerougui is due to terminate her contract, I guess, on the 15th of January. Do we know if she will get a new job here, or do we know anything about her?
Well, I'm sure people know. Do I know? No. As you know, the personnel announcements are really chatted about until things are confirmed. Edie.
Thank you, Steph. A couple of follow-ups. On Tigray, it's now been well over a month, maybe even longer, that the United Nations has been trying to get humanitarian aid into Tigray. What's the holdup? I mean, you said there's still negotiating. Is it on? Obviously, there's something on the Ethiopian government side that's blocking this.
Sure. I mean, you know, we managed to get the 2 assessment missions in, which was obviously critical to the start of humanitarian operations. Our colleagues at WFP last month managed to get I think 2 convoys in to various refugee camps. We continue to try to overcome some administrative hurdles. But I think the most important thing for us at this point was to get those assessment teams in so we can then go in with larger scale operations.
And a follow-up on Martin Griffiths. So he's now been to see both sides. What's the next step?
I mean, you know, it's a continuous step in a way. He will continue the dialogue, continue to press the various parties, and continue his work with the same vigor and energy that he's been putting into it for the past months, if not more than a year. All right. Sorry, I'm a little discombobulated by where I'm sitting. James Bays, please.
Steph, I have a few questions. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I have a few questions. The first one is about what happened in Washington, D.C. yesterday. I know you put out some language on this subject, but can you just tell us more about what the Secretary-General's view was when he watched those pictures?
Look, I mean, I think as we said in what we put out yesterday, he was saddened by what he saw, and his reaction, his message, which in a sense is one that he's given in many other situations, is that political leaders need to impress on their followers the need to refrain from violence and to respect the democratic process and respect the rule of law. I mean, it's a very important message that political leaders need to give to those who listen to them.
Okay, a couple of follow-ups. Political leaders. Let me ask you specifically about President Trump. It was President Trump who told his followers to march on Capitol Hill, and that's where all the trouble started. What's the Secretary-General's view on the president's role in all of this?
I think he and others are political leaders. And so what I said would apply to all of them, to all people who have political
Sorry,
responsibility.
Steph, could you answer that again? Your sound cut out for a few seconds. Could you answer again?
Sure. Can you hear me? Okay. The president and others are political leaders. And I think so the Secretary General's message applies to all those who have political responsibilities.
Follow up on that, and then I have one other question, if it's okay. The follow-up is about the media. Once again, the media were targeted during the protest. A murder the media was even one of the placards being carried by the protesters. What's the UN's view on that?
Attacks on the media, whether they are targeted, whether they are spontaneous, are unacceptable. Full stop. And a
different subject. You've given us the details of the virtual visit to London coming up this weekend. Can I ask whether the Secretary-General will be doing any virtual media while he's in London? I'm sure there might at least be one UN correspondent based in London at the moment.
Well, asking. We're always happy to have the correspondents meet face to face, so it's just unfortunate that you're not in New York, James. You're just, right time, wrong place. What can I tell you? But no, there is, joking aside, there is no, we will focus on the public events. There are two main public events. Those will be webcasts, and we'll share the remarks. But he's not doing any interviews or any such thing at this point. Edie.
Steph, a follow-up on the U.S. election and the presidency. We know that the Secretary-General had a conversation with President-elect Joe Biden. What are his plans? The inauguration's less than 2 weeks away. What are his plans on following that up, since the United States is not only a major power, but of course a major funder of the United Nations?
Well, we look forward after the inauguration on the Secretary General speaking with the man who will be president at the time, President Biden, and to start working with the rest of his foreign policy and national security team. All right, Toby.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you, Steph. It's another follow-up on Washington, actually. Sorry, there's a terrible echo. I need to plug my ears. The situation in Washington yesterday has resulted in a social media ban of the president by the major social media platforms in the U.S., including Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm wondering if the UN has any kind of policy guidance on governance and social media, and what, if any, policy frameworks or recommendations that the UN has put out in the past might apply to this this unusual situation. Thank you.
Look, I mean, I think in general terms, we have spoken out at the risk, and not only the risk, but the fact that social media platforms have been used to propagate violence, to propagate hate speech. I mean, there've been studies, UN studies, on how they've been used in various conflicts and various civil wars, and that is, I think, it just increases the responsibility of the people who manage those platforms to ensure that they are not misused to do physical harm to people.
Has the UN ever recommended any sort of public oversight for these platforms, given their increasing importance in world politics and governance?
Look, they are what we would call multi-stakeholder conversations going on with the private sectors, with member states about the digital space. But we are not advocating for public oversight of private companies. Evelyn.
In light of yesterday's disaster in Washington, are there any extra security measures planned for the United Nations in New York or for the Secretary-General in particular, since zealots do not have any stop signs? Thank you.
As you know, we don't comment on specific security measures, but we are constantly in touch with the host country, with the host cities, who we rely on to provide security outside of the UN walls, and they have always done a terrific job in ensuring that the building is safe, that all of us, which includes you, who work in this building, are safe, and that the Secretary General and senior UN officials are safe. Okay,
Thank you.
Philippe.
Hello, Stéphane. My question is on Mali and the attacks on Sunday, killing several civils during a wedding, apparently. Some people suspect French or Malian forces. When do you expect a result of the investigation launched by MINUSMA?
I don't have an end date for when that will happen. I know the mission, especially the Human Rights Office in Mali, is looking into it. And as soon as we have some sort of visibility on when that will be ready, I will let you know. I was given just an update on Cameroon, and to say that the Secretary General condemns the attack of the convoy of the prefect of the Department of Momo in the northwest region of Cameroon. He reiterates his call to end violence in the two regions, particularly violence against civilians. The Secretary General strongly urges the parties to heed his global call for a ceasefire. The UN is available to support efforts of the parties in this regard in an inclusive dialogue process leading to a resolution of the crisis. Okay, unless I see somebody else waving their hands in the air. Abdelhamid, yes.
Thank you, Stéphane. I don't have a question. I just want to pay tribute to our colleague from the Global Communication Department who passed away, Maha Fayek, who was working in UN radio and UN social media.
Okay, thank you. I was not aware, but we share.
Ms. Fleming issued a statement on her death.
We send our condolences to her family. Okay. Thank you all, and we will see you tomorrow.